What do you love about Florida?
I love our industry sometimes. You wish you had a cleaner quote when they're playing their best, just to define that. SVP says it all the time, and I'm stealing his line, but I'm sure I don't know where he got it either. But how good is your good? I think their good is better than anybody else's good. And they've put that on tape more consistently over the last 6 weeks than anybody else. Guys, 2 months ago, they were 22, 23 to 1 to win the national championship. 2.5 weeks ago, they were still 13, 14 to 1. Right now, they're 5, 6 to 1 to win a national championship. It is crazy how much now the country and the market is caught up to where this team is. That guy, Boogie Fland, has greatly improved his efficiency and effectiveness. Xavier Lee has as well. Their bigs, though, are the key to this team. They're the best front line in the country. Ruben Chinilo is the best defensive player in the SEC, maybe the best defensive player, and definitely the best rebounder in the country. All four of their bigs are part of this team last year, won a national championship. So you're bringing back experience. You obviously have Todd Golden coaching on the sidelines, won a national championship. Their guards have improved, as I mentioned. You're getting great benefits from the bench. The team you saw in November, December, lost to Arizona, lost to UConn, lost to TCU, had some disappointing starts to the season, is way different than the group they are now. I think they're good, is better than anybody else in the country, and I'm excited to see them put that on display here in the SEC tournament and then as we get to the big dance here next week.
Florida, no doubt, national championship contender, but so is Duke. They clinched a 17-1 ACC regular season after taking UNC down on Saturday. The ACC tournament gets started today. Who can stop Duke in the ACC tournament?
Well, injuries can stop Duke, Carolyn. That's the problem right now. That's the issue with this team. We just saw it this past weekend. You had no Patrick Gumba, their big center, and I've been saying for weeks now, he's their most important player. Cameron Boozer's the most valuable player in the country, the best player in the country, but Gumba makes them different. And when he's not in the lineup, you lose your rim protection, you lose your lob threat, you lose your best rebounder. And he was bummed to not play in that Duke game. That was a big enough hit. But then Caleb Foster mid-game, you lose your starting point guard. So they're figuring it out on the fly there in that game, and they were dominant over North Carolina. They're just flat out more talented. They're better. They're at home. But we're talking about winning a national championship, which unfortunately or fortunately for Duke, that is the only measure by which you are assessed. It is not about ACC championships. It's not about ACC tournaments. It's about the NCAA tournament winning national championships. And this team, I'm concerned for their health. They've proven they've played over the balance of the season, the best in the entire country. They've been the most consistent. Them along with Arizona, I would say. But with these injuries, that's the question. So we'll see what happens and who plays when you come on Thursday here in the ACC tournament. And if Gumba can go and if Foster can go, we've yet to hear anything of substance, and we won't. There's no reason for Duke or John Shire to say anything, because if you do say a guy is out, that can affect your seeding. Now, they're not going to go off the one line, but maybe they go from the overall 1 to the overall 3. You just don't give the committee that option. Now, what the real question is when we tip it up next week in the NCAA tournament, who can play? Because you could sit out a 16-1 game and that's fine. An 8-9 game they're going to play in the next round. Those are other high major quality opponents. They're not sitting guys for that. So I just hope they're healthy. I hope we get to see this team at full capacity, because when they are, to your initial question, nobody's stopping them in their own league. The question is, can they win a national title? To be healthy is the answer.
Okay, so you mentioned Cam, and on this show, like many shows, we've talked a lot about Cam, AJ, and Darren Peterson whenever he actually plays. With those three phenoms, can any one of those players in your mind single-handedly take their team on a deep run? Like, are we going to get a superstar run from a superstar that launches a team deep into this run?
We'll go process elimination. Unfortunately, AJ and crew are out. Losing Richie Saunders, who's a fellow top 20, top 25 pick, that was critical. They had a three-headed monster. It was Richie Saunders, AJ DeBonsa, and Robert Wright. Now, those guys were averaging together almost 60 points a game, and they had been, I think, 16-1 at one point in time. They had problems with not playing full 40 minutes. They had some defensive issues, but they still had these three just supremely talented players, good role players. You lose the key guy, you lose one of your key guys. They have not bounced back defensively. They've been poor. They did beat Texas Tech this weekend in a good win at home at the Marriott Center, but when you say deep run, we're talking Final Four, Elite Eight. I don't think they have the consistency to get there. If they make it to the second weekend, I think that'd be a win given what they've looked like in the last 4 weeks. Darren Peterson in Kansas is the biggest enigma in the country. They have a defensive team and a coach and a star in him that could get you to a Final Four without a doubt. I think they've proven they beat Arizona at home without him on the floor. They've had a lot of good wins without him on the floor. They're still trying to figure out exactly how to play their best with them together. I think they've figured out the off-the-court crap. I think they're over it, and the country caught up to it late, Fitzy, honestly. Like, this has been going on since December, January. Then we had the Super Bowl, and the next Monday there was Arizona, Kansas, and he didn't play. And then everybody else Football's over, so basketball took a little bit of a center stage, and everybody had a comment on him not playing. So it was a timing thing. The team had already been dealing with it. The question is, can they find their apex together with him on the floor? He is probably the most gifted natural scorer in the country. I still think he will easily be the first or second pick in the draft. There's not a question in my mind. The question is, when he's logging 30 minutes a game, as he mostly has the last 4 or 5 games, will he be able to be efficient and effective as you want and need him to be? That remains to be seen. And his team has to defend. They are they are built on the defensive end. They were an elite defensive team when they're playing at their best. They've struggled with that in recent weeks. When they are elite defensively, they can get you to a Final Four, which leaves Cam. And Cam, it's not single-handed, but he is by far their Batman. The question is, who will be the Robin stepping up with him? That's been the question all year. Isaiah Evans has to make some shots for them. Dame Sarr is an elite defensive player that is now making shots and playing really confidently. I already mentioned Patrick Gumba. If they're fully healthy, without a doubt, Cam at the head of the snake has the chance to lead them to a national championship. That's not just him, though. His team is critical to that, as are the other guys, too. Their teams aren't as good. They have bigger question marks. Cam has less question marks, and he is by far the most dominant single player in the country. That's why the National Player of the Year race was wrapped up literally, a month ago. And he just keeps putting up bigger games and bigger numbers.
Yeah, he is insane. But as we know, last year, all 4 1 seeds were represented in the Final Four. That's only happened twice in the history of the tournament. So the law of probability would say that's not going to happen for the second year in a row. So of all of these teams that are in contention of getting a 1 seed, Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Florida, any other team that you want to throw into the mix, who do you think is most vulnerable of dropping out of the tournament before we reach the Final Four?
So a couple things there. I think, first of all, the 4 teams that have separated are Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and Florida. I think that separation, and we've seen that in the last couple of weeks, and that's been codified in my mind. Those teams are the 4 best. That said, until UConn put a brick up at Marquette, their resume over the season was better. I thought they were going to end up being the number one, the last 1 seed, and Florida was going to be that first 2 seed. And to your point, law of averages gave me a reason to put in 3 1s in a 2 in my Final Four. That now has gone away. I think these 4 teams are going to be the 1 seeds. And you're right. The statistics say it's not going to happen, but I'll be hard-pressed in these matchups to see myself not doing it again. I hate being chalky and saying it already, and maybe we won't, but we'll take a look at how it all settles. I will say, I'm going to say Michigan probably has the chance because I think they've shown the greatest variance in their performance. I mentioned Florida being a way different team, but Michigan has shown huge peaks early in the season, but they'd also shown valleys, and they've been kind of up and down, and you can see they lost that game to Duke. Next game against Minnesota, they're at home. You think they're going to throttle Minnesota. The first 30 minutes, they're kind of playing with their food. They can have some turnover issues. They do have an injury issue. LJ Kaysen is done for the season. Talented backup point guard that really would come in for Elliot Cadeau at times and help change their team. Plays with great pace and efficiency and was really effective the last month before his injury. So how that kind of assess how that tinkers Dusty May's rotation. We've seen 3 or 4 games of it. It's looked good. Obviously, they've won the games. But there's still some questions. So if I'm picking one team to get knocked off in this run, I guess it's going to be Michigan, which is probably antithetical to what most people think. I just think Arizona's been so consistent for so long from the first night of the season, and they've continued to improve. I think that they're going to find their way into the Final Four. Duke with the injuries, I already went over that. If they're hurt, then can I have a mulligan? Okay, if Patrick Gumba can't play, I'm going to redo this take because it's definitely Duke if they're not fully healthy. But all things fully healthy, I will lean toward Michigan just because at times I think they've shown some variance and some turnover issues. And obviously, I'm already glowed about Florida, so I'm not going to say that.
The Big Ten has been stacked this year. Is there somebody else in that conference you think could make a massive run?
Massive. I think Michigan State, when their challenge is still in a half-court offensive game, Fitz, if they can execute enough. Jeremy Fears is outstanding, but they can get a little stagnant. They don't have great outside shooting. They're going to have to be more physical than you. They're going to have to be tougher than you. They're going to have to get in transition to score. I think their Elite Eight is probably their apex, but that's still obviously a great run. I'm very interested in where Wisconsin's going to be seated. I was interested in that before we got to the Purdue win this past weekend. Bear in mind, they did go into Michigan and beat Michigan, and they put up 15 threes. They have 2 dynamic guards in John Blackwell and Nick Boyd, which guards do win. It's trite but true. Guards win games when it comes to the NCAA tournament. So I think Wisconsin's going to be where they're seated. If they're a 4-5, if they get in that 3 line, that'd be impressive. But they're a team to watch out for getting to an Elite Eight. And, depending upon a matchup, it's shockingly a Final Four. I think their defense is a little too questionable for that. But the team actually the other way though. Illinois too. Illinois is a lead offensive team. Are they good enough defensively? I don't think they can win a title. I do think they can get you to a Final Four. because they are so good. And I think Kylan Boswell being fully healthy is critical. And Keaton Wagler's been one of the best freshmen in the country that I think is, if they have a deep run, guys, you will be talking about Keaton Wagler a lot because he will be a high draft pick in the NBA draft. So I think he might have a breakout tournament to the country, but he put up 46 in Mackey against Purdue earlier this year. He's been outstanding, but it's a little more niche, I would say, that people have followed him that are casual sports fans. To go the other way, though, Purdue, guys, Purdue's a hot mess. Okay, they do not guard. They've been 6-6 over the last 12. They're limited athletically. We've already known that. Braden Smith, who's one of the best point guards in the country, yes, but he's late game. He's not been great, especially in the last 2 months of critical moments of games. And defensively, when you have dynamic guards that they have to guard, it's a problem. It's a huge issue for them. So, I mean, Purdue's matchups will be very interesting. That second round, I'll be intrigued to see where they're seated. If they drop to a 4 line, are we getting to a 5 line? But I would like to see where they're going to be seated. But I do think there's going to be some questions for me around if they can get to that second weekend, given how they've played recently and given their opponent. I think, again, that matchup will be important. If there's a dynamic guard or two in that other team, I might be taking an upset early.
I never want to wish our basketball away because I know we're going to have some epic conference tournament action. But we will.
What are you
have a
about to
bracket
say?
coming
We
out pretty
just started
soon.
March. What are you about to say? You want it to be baseball
Well,
season? What are you doing to me?
I wanted to hurry up and be March Madness. Okay, sorry, conference tournaments. Love you. You're great. You have a great personality. But we are in March, and I'm ready for some tournament action. So we were talking about conference contenders, national championship contenders. What about Cinderellas? Who are some potential giant slayers that you have your eye on?
It's funny that you say it. It's like you just gave her, like, bless her heart. Like, she's got a good heart. Like, champ week. You got a good heart. You never go out on you.
Sweet. She's so funny.
So sweet. She's so nice. She's really funny. She's really funny, dude. I think what we're missing with Champ Week, though, is this where the Cinderellas get crowned. They get their chance here. And that's it's great, but it's disheartening, too, because some of the best teams, your 1 seeds, are out. UNCW and the CAA, Navy and the Patriot League, and a brutal buzzer beater at home. Like, some of the teams that maybe could have made some noise, it's a problem. I'm interested to see where High Point gets seated. Let me back up. Where these teams are seated really matter. And that all the bubble talk and your seeding talk, where the 10s, 11s, 12s, is really not in a vacuum. Like, that affects who gets in and who steals what bids. And if a league gets multiple bids when they shouldn't, that affects this whole thing. So, I mean, I think High Point, who's already punched their ticket, is a team that could be compelling. They went to the tournament last year, basically a whole different team now, though. But they're very good defensively. They do not turn the ball over. They're efficient offensively. They're tough. They're well coached and they're well coached. And I do think this will be a situation where their seed impacts them. 12 seed helps them. A 13 seed will hurt them a little bit. We'll see where they end up falling. But High Point's a team to watch out for. Everybody's talking about Miami of Ohio, actually. Where they're seated is one of the stories of the tournament, because they have now 2 quad 2 wins, no quad 1 wins, which are your best wins. They didn't play a quad 1 game. They didn't play any high major opponent. It's impressive nonetheless what they have done, going undefeated, but we have no measuring stick against the teams that they would see in the first round of the tournament. It'll be the first time they will have seen, and I'm saying this as a former mid-major player, the biggest difference between a mid-major player and high major player is physically the tools you have. The guy across from me was usually 2 to 4 inches taller than me, ran faster, jumped higher. Didn't make him a better player, didn't make him more effective, but physically there are tools and things he can do that I couldn't do. And that's, sometimes there's an adjustment to playing in that kind of game. And I wonder how they're going to adjust to playing in that kind of game. They're very well coached by Travis Steele, but where they're seated will be a massive question mark. If they get to that 8-9 line, that's great for them. If they're in the 9-10, the 10-11 spot, it's very different in terms of the opponent you would play in that first round. In terms of other Cinderella's teams I liked, like Belmont, didn't make it. So this is where part of this thing with Champ Week is so compelling to me, is all those mid-majors it's being resolved. Who will go? And that question is more easy to answer when we actually have a bracket, A, because we know who's in it, and B, because we look at the particular matchups, especially when it comes to upsets, are critical. But the story, like I said, a High Point I'm interested in. I'm interested where Miami's going to go. And I do think you need to watch different leagues, like the Atlantic 10 this week. St. Louis is going to the tournament, and they're a team that I thought could make a deep run. They've struggled recently. They have a big maybe injury question with Robbie Avila, who might be player of the year in the league. So St. Louis, I have some question marks around that I didn't have before. VCU is a bubble team if they get in, and if somebody else wins that league, that may steal a bid. So you may have 3 bids out of the A10 out of nowhere, which again affects the rest of the bubble. So all this stuff is why Champ Week is glorious, Miss Fenton, because we just don't know how it's going to shake out. So we don't wish it away.
I know,
we just
it's
suck it all in.
great.
Just
I
bring
know.
in all the March. Give me all the March.